Hello, everybody. My name is Graham Elwood, and you are watching The Political Vigilante. We have been demonetized by YouTube, so please go to rom/Graham Elwood. And I got a lot of free content on the channel, and if you sign up for the premium, it's only $10 a month. You get all of my premium and my guests' premium and everybody else on the channel. Very happy to have show Richard Medhurst. Richard, how you doing?
I'm happy to be here, Graham. It's good to talk with you and to be on the program again. Thank you.
Thanks, dude. I know it's been a kind of trying time for you because you're Syrian and Joe Biden. Sadly, I'm not shocked he started bombing Syria. We all kind of knew this was going to happen. This is who he is. He was part of Obama's dropping more bombs than Bush and setting the Middle East on fire. But that happened, I believe, last Thursday, which was, I forget what date that was, the 25th or
25th, something. Yeah.
So what do you know from your family and contacts in Syria, and you know, what light can you shed on this? Because obviously the mainstream media is just like, oh, I think something happened in Syria. No, Joe Biden had no choice. And then dumb blue MAGA liberals just, yep, oh, he's more presidential when he drops his bombs. So
yeah. I mean, it's the reporting by the mainstream media, of course, is horrendous as usual. I mean, I don't have any family near where this bombing took place. You know, this was in Abu Kamal, which is on the Syria-Iraq border, and you know, it's interesting what they're saying in the media, because as usual they use this excuse of, oh, Joe Biden was attacking Iranian-backed militias, you know, or Shia militias. Which in of itself is a bit weird, because it's like, does that mean because they're Iranian back, you know, or they're Shia, that it's okay to bomb them? I mean, like, you know, it's a sovereign nation, and that makes that doesn't make it okay. And you know, I was talking to Max Abrams the other day, and he made an interesting point, which I think is true. It's that this wasn't so much to send about sending a message to Iran. It was also about sending a message to Israel that, you know, Biden is still with them, because, you know, Trump, I mean, they love Trump, right? I mean, he recognized the occupied Syrian Golan Heights as Israeli. He moved the embassy, the American embassy, from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, and you know, they name things after him, like Trump Heights, and they love him. But Joe Biden, you know, of course, Joe Biden is a huge Zionist. He said that himself, right? And he's always been a staunch supporter of Israel and Kamala Harris. But you know, I think it was more about sending a message to the Israelis that, you know, they're gonna turn a blind eye, as they always do, to them bombing Syria. And again, we just saw last night Israel's bombing Syria again, and they use the same excuse, like these Iranian-backed militias. I mean, that's such a weird way of putting it, because like, they're reducing it to some kind of menacing phrase, but it's what they're talking about is the PMU or PMF, like the Popular Mobilization Forces, Popular Mobilization Units. You know, these are local groups from inside Iraq, who are not just Shia, by the way. There's also Sunnis among them. They have Christians. They have Yazidis. Like it's just a coalition of militias who happen to have some backing from Iran, who kicked ISIS's ass, you know? And it's incredible that not just Trump, but now Biden also helps ISIS again, because, you know, when Trump assassinated Soleimani, he didn't just kill Soleimani, he also killed Abu Mahdi along with him. And Abu Mahdi is actually a commander in the PMU. And now now Biden goes and bombs the PMU, and he's just doing ISIS favors. I mean, these jihadists even release statements saying like, "Oh yeah, we're grateful for Trump assassinating Soleimani and Abu Mahdi because you know, these guys were kicking their asses." And you know, it's much easier for them to just say, "Oh yeah, they're Iranian-backed militias," instead of just speaking the truth, which is that, you know, these guys are fighting terrorism. They've liberated Mosul in Iraq, which is you know, a huge city. They've liberated large swaths of Syria and Iraq. And you know, they've saved tons of minorities. Like you had, for example, when Soleimani was assassinated by Trump, you had Christians in Syria holding masses for Soleimani, right? But if you listen to MSNBC, like they'll just say, oh, he's like some Shia terrorist or something. No, man, these people are revered because they've actually saved other minorities, right? And so they won't tell you that side of the story. And it's a continuation of the same old propaganda. It's just nonsense.
Well, not only will the American mainstream media won't tell you the whole side of the story. They won't even show the clips of them saying, oh, Soleimani's helping us defeat ISIS from several years ago. I mean, and the American media, they're not dumb. This is deliberate that they just then, and what this bombing also did, I would add, not only is it saying, hey, Netanyahu, we still are down with you, but it's also helping to fuel this. Ooh, Iran. They've been wanting a war with Iran for literally, for decades. Let's be honest, since the Ayatollah took over.
Absolutely.
They've been wanting this, and you can go back to, then Senator Hillary Clinton in 2007 talking about we got to do something about Iran. After 9/11, Iran was thrown into the axis of evil along with Venezuela. Right. I was like, how the fuck so Venezuela was a part of the 9/11 attacks? What the fuck? What? It's just like it's ridiculous. Ridiculous. And they know that the American people are just going to hear a couple buzzwords and go, oh yeah, and they know that the blue MAGA crowd, the older crowd, the younger folks seem to be paying more attention, but like like Gen X and up, they'll just go, because I remember when Trump bombed Syria the first time, when he had only been in office 4 or 5 months, in April of 2017, and a Hollywood liberal friend of mine who did not like Trump at all was like, yeah, but he had to because Assad was gassing people. And I was like, that's it. You just bought that. You just bought that. And I was like, this is how
after 2003, they just still believe WMD lies. It's incredible.
It's just like, and it's unbelievable to me. And it's like, I'm glad to see more chatter on social media of like, so we can't get a $1,400 check, but we got money to bomb. I'm seeing more of that. And people, because it's like, I posted this on January 20th. I said, all right, liberals, no more excuses. Big bad Trump's gone. You've got the House, the Senate. I don't want to hear it. There's no, but Trump, shut the fuck up. Trump's gone. Your orange demon is gone. So what now? I just did a segment that, the Biden is reopening a Trump detention.
Yeah, in Texas, right?
Well, sorry, facility. It's a nice facility. It's nice. So these weren't bombs. These were freedom sparkles.
They were. No, Graham, they were defensive airstrikes, right? Because as everybody knows, Syria is bombing the United States, and Syria is at war with the United States, and Syria invaded the United States. So they're defensive. But no, it's really preposterous because the rationale behind it as well is like, they're claiming that two recent incidents justified this attack. They're saying on February 15th, there was a rocket attack in Erbil in Iraq where one American contractor was killed, 5 American contractors were wounded, and 1 American soldier was wounded. And they're also citing a rocket attack on the Green Zone in Baghdad on February 22nd, I believe. And again, the Green Zone is where you have the U.S. embassy, and it's the biggest embassy in the world. And it's I'm not kidding. It's almost the size of Vatican City. If you just look it up on Google, it's like a fucking space military base. It's just enormous. And rocket attacks there are nothing new. I still don't think you should be firing rockets in diplomatic missions, but they act like it's something new and therefore it warranted a response. But they're just using it as a pretext to justify this attack. And again, this is taking place in Baghdad. So why are they striking inside Syria? At the border with Iraq? And if you go and read this article in the New York Times, they said that they're not even sure that it's the same group that is the one that they bombed. They're not even sure it's the same one that did the rocket strikes. So it's just random. They don't care and they don't need a justification. They just use the authorization for use of military force, which was signed into law during the Bush years. to justify anything you want. It's like a page and a half long, and it's just a blank check to just bomb and drone strike and kill everyone. And Obama's been using it, Trump's been using it, and now Biden's using it. And again, I think people need to take a step back and remember, like, the U.S. is illegally occupying Iraq. It's illegally occupying Syria, and the same thing for Britain. Like all these, the entire coalition of the willing. They have no right to be there. They can't talk about defense, or defensive airstrikes. They're there illegally. They have no business being there. And after they killed Soleimani, the Iraqi parliament voted to kick out all foreign troops, and the Americans just didn't listen. The British didn't listen. They're still there. And it's like, oh, we're going to invade Iraq to give them a democracy, and when their democracy votes to kick us out, we're not going to listen. It's unbelievable.
Well, the thing that's so like, when a bunch of gun-toting neo-Nazis seized our Capitol building, how come Syria didn't bomb us? Because we were under siege. How come that didn't happen? How come no one in the middle? How come Venezuela didn't send troops across the border? How come that didn't happen? We're under siege. I mean, literally, our capital, our own citizens are a greater threat to our democracy than anybody in the Middle East. And not only that, like, oh, we're finally the new information came out about Khashoggi. Like, the Saudis killed him. This is the same Saudi Arabia
Graham,
that had 9/11 bombers. Just
according to Nicole Wallace, she thinks you should drone strike people who enabled the Capitol rioters. So I mean, at least just being consistent, right? At least just being consistent.
All right. I mean,
she's from the Bush administration after all. She was the White House spokeswoman, and now she's like, people think she's a progressive on MSNBC. The whitewashing is unbelievable. I mean, these people they should be in fucking jail, honestly, for the suffering that they've caused. These wars are still happening. Like, it's been 20 years, and these people have now gigs on television, and people forget about it. Like, even Shep Smith, right, who used to be on Fox News, and he was saying, I'm not kidding. Like, there's a clip of him. I played it where you can see the tanks on the split screen, like, invading Iraq. And he's like, yeah, well, maybe we'll set up a base and then spread some of the love. And this motherfucker is still on television. Like, it's unreal. It's unreal how these people are still in journalism.
Well, so Ted Bundy killed less people and he got the electric chair. So when are these people gonna suffer the fate of Ted Bundy? I mean, because they're serious. Never. I mean, it's the hypocrisy. I can't even. Like, my head explodes when I think about the hypocrisy. I can't even. Yeah. I mean, and here we are.
It's really unbelievable.
We have people waiting in bread lines. I mean, literally, this country has handled the pandemic the worst. We have the highest body count, the highest percentage of people. I mean, India, which has 1 billion people and is a third world country, dealt with the pandemic better than we did. How is that possible? I mean, like, not only that, you've got people in bread lines. You've got, I don't know what the unemployment is. You've got these looming, I mean, they keep kicking the rent and foreclosure collapse down the road. Right. The New CARES Act they'll just keep kicking that can down the road. They're just basically lengthening the fuse of the time bomb the economic time bomb that's going to happen. 60,000 people a year die because they don't have health insurance. That was before the pandemic. I mean, we have cops have a 99% acquittal rate whenever they shoot somebody, kills an unarmed person. People of color, black people get killed. Unarmed black people get killed at a higher rate, but even unarmed, that's the other thing too. Like, the All Lives Matter crowd goes, yeah, but unarmed white people get killed by cops too. It's all awful. We're a collapse.
Like as if that's any better. Like,
good. That's
all of it is bad. It's incredible. They're ready to, stop stop delivering on their campaign promises. They said, okay, $15 minimum wage. At least there's one progressive thing on Biden's platform saying, oh no, we can't do it because the Senate parliamentarian, and but when it comes to the defense budget, I mean, Chuck Schumer and Mitch McConnell, they fucking took a break from their Christmas vacation and reconvened the Senate like right after Christmas to make sure that the defense budget would pass, even if Trump vetoed it. It's like there's no delays with that. You don't mess with the profits of the military-industrial complex. But when it's time to give the COVID relief checks, oh no, it's not $2,000, it's $1,400 sometime in mid-March. And those campaign promises, no, forget about that. There's no climate change action. The $15 minimum wage, no, we can't do it. Sorry. All of a sudden, Joe Biden is now the most powerless person in the world, right? It's just like
he can't. He doesn't. So he's got enough power to circumvent Congress to go to war, to bomb Syria. So he just doesn't need Congress anymore. But he just can't. Oh, and he just can't. They just can't seem to figure out this $1,400. Old man Joe just keeps fumbling around the White House and can't.
After they told us that he can reach across the aisle and he knows everybody and he can get things done, right? That's why he's better than Bernie Sanders. And look at the silence. I mean, look at AOC, look at Rashida Tlaib. They haven't said a fucking word. Just like you said, he went behind Congress's back. Now, of course, you have these, neocons and war on terror advocates. They'll come and tell you like, oh, but he has the AUMF as if it's constitutional to begin with. But like, these are Congress people. They don't even respect themselves that Biden went behind their backs and just bombed another country. They won't even acknowledge it. It's fucking unbelievable. Like, if there's one thing that you would be like, okay, no, I gotta put my foot down here and say something. You would think it's like committing an act of war against someone else. No, they won't even admit. They won't say a word. Nothing.
And you bring up a great point. AOC and Tlaib and the squad. Nothing. I mean, I think I would at least get a couple of tweets. I mean, that's all they're good for anyway, is sending out tweets. I mean, AOC said
they did for Trump.
Yeah, they they did for Trump. When Trump did war, it was bad. When Biden does it, we got other stuff on our plate.
Exactly.
The most AOC could do was she's like, this isn't about the detention facilities. AOC was like, this isn't good from any administration. And I retweeted saying, yeah, don't pass a law or use your power and influence to, pressure a vote to Democrats to change. Just keep tweeting. That'll do it. That'll save the day. Yeah,
of course.
Like goddamn Taylor Swift. Like who are?
If only AOC would go into another photo shoot, maybe she could change Biden's mind. She went to the cages and started just crying there. Maybe like this will finally do the trick, right? God, man. It looked like a scene from Terminator 2.
It's. So Richard, how do you see? I mean, obviously, I said this because they've been trying to false flag us into Iran. They want a war in Iran, and when while I don't like Trump, I guess I'm glad he's gone. But we traded out overt fascism for the rainbow flag fascism of Biden and the gang. I was like, oh great. When everyone was dancing in the streets, when they named Biden, I was like, we're gonna bomb Iran, right? Like we're gonna have boots on the ground in Iran, probably. Like that they've been wanting to do this for a long time.
It's true. Yeah.
And they know they've got these dipshit blue MAGA people that will, well, he had to go into Iran. They'll just make excuses for it. So how do you see this playing out? I mean, since they obviously planted the Iran seed in the Iran backed rebels. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's like even if hypothetically you want to play devil's advocate and say Iran has 10,000 legions of troops inside Syria. It's no one's fucking business. Like the United States has how many military bases in the world? Does that make it okay for can Syria go and bomb South Korea because there's an American military base there? What kind of logic is that? It's none of their business. And if it weren't for Iran and Russia, ISIS would be in control of Syria right now. It's really that simple. People, they'll give you all this propaganda and tell you that they're just advancing their own interests. Nah, man, Syria was going to fall. Syria was this close. I mean, my cousins live literally 5 minutes on foot from, where you had jihadists digging up tunnels and just mortaring central Damascus. They were going to take the capital. They were going to take the capital city. It was going to fall. And, if you didn't have support from Iran and Russia, it would have been gone. They would have massacred, Christians like my family. They would have massacred anyone else they don't agree with. And, as you mentioned, they've been wanting to deal with Iran for a long time. And it's not about nukes, right? This is just a bullshit excuse. They're just overtly saying that, we want a new nuclear deal. We want one that addresses the ballistic missile programs. Ballistic missiles are not nukes. And they want to, again, they say contain Iran's influence in the region. What does that mean? That means literally what Joe Biden just bombed the PMU, right? Because the PMU is not just about, they didn't just kick ISIS ass. The PMU, their stated objective is to kick out the American occupation out of Iraq, out of the Middle East, and also the Israeli occupation. So that's what they mean. They don't want Iran supporting resistance efforts. And also, of course, you have Iran supporting Palestine as well. So that's what they're pissed off about. And it's astonishing because that was Trump's position. That's the reason Trump left the deal, because he was doing that for Israel, right? Israel's never liked the Iran nuclear deal because, apparently the nuclear inspections and limitations were not enough. They wanted, as I mentioned, the ballistic missiles and the influence curbed. And so Joe Biden and his team, his cabinet, who were actually the architects of the Iran nuclear deal, they're just running with Trump's position, because they're like, well, we're out of the deal now, so we might as well just ask for more, and it's like they're trying to be smart and like be clever dicks, because just last week they're saying, hey, look, we're open to talks now, with our European partners, knowing full well that Iran is going to say no, not because Iran doesn't want to talk about the nuclear deal. Iran is still in the nuclear deal. Iran wants them to lift sanctions first, right? Because, that was just a punitive measure from the US, and they want the US to lift the sanctions and then re-enter the deal. And they're not going to renegotiate the deal. And it's so weird. You see Joe Biden at the same time saying that, I'm ready to open talks. He goes and bombs Iranian-backed militias inside of Syria. Like, I don't know, man. It just makes no sense whatsoever. It's kind of like signaling to Israel, like, look, either these guys are going to come to the table and do as we want, or they're going to understand the hard way with the bombs. But I don't think that, I don't think that, I hope not in any case, that I hope there's not going to be a war, because, while Israel and the United States, they go and kill, whoever they like inside of Syria and Iraq, they still won't touch Iran because they know they can't. That's just a bridge too far for them, right? And it's actually incredible what Iran's been able to do under sanctions, because even under sanctions, they've built this pretty incredible defense program with the ballistic missiles. And that's why they're trying to get rid of them, right? That's why they want that included in a new deal. It's not about nukes. Iran doesn't have nukes. So, I do think that, as I said, the Biden administration, they're taking everything that Trump did, like the Abraham Accords, moving the embassy to Jerusalem, the Syria-Iraq sanctions on Syria, stealing the oil in Syria, building illegal bases in Syria, bombing Syria, attacking the PMU. They're taking all of that and just running with it, right? So it's, as I said, it's just a continuation of Trump. It's not even changing a little bit. And it's astonishing that, the architects of the Iran nuclear deal, because these guys were all there under Obama when he did it, you would think that they would rush back to the nuclear deal, right? If you're so worried about Iran obtaining a nuke, isn't that the first thing you would do? Like, you would go back and enter the deal, because it put limits on Iran's, enrichment, on the number of centrifuges. No, what are they doing? They're, in the form of F-15 payloads. And it's just like, it's so clear that it's a continuation of Trump, and it's astonishing that people can't see that. And the fact that all these so-called progressives are silent, it just means they're complicit. 100%. Like, this is shameful. It's really disgraceful. And they talked about Trump being a mad king. That's what AOC called him when he bombed Syria without congressional approval. So he's a mad king, but Joe Biden is. Oh, what's Syria? I don't know what that is.
Yeah. What is Joe Biden? He's more presidential. I saw some woman with a rainbow flag and a blue check, I forget, on Twitter, was like, and she was being dead serious. She was like, it's so nice to see, even the handling of war being more presidential, and Syria's being even more classy, or something like that. Oh, wow. Yeah. The bombs are so more classy under Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. It's just preposterous. And I don't know.
Yeah.
America
it really
is a fucking virus, man. And it's
no. Graham, you have to let me, as a half British person, take some credit. It's the demon spawn of the United Kingdom. Okay, let's put it that way. So that's what I stick to.
It is. It is. It is really like, yeah. Look what you've done. Yeah, it's insane to watch, and of course, the squad is useless. I mean, and
they're not going to do anything. You know, Ilhan Omar, she criticizes Biden. Okay, great. She talks about the AUMF. Great. Are you going to repeal it? Like, they were so quick to call for impeaching Trump because he was violating their democracy. Okay, what do you call it when the president breaches his oath of office and goes behind Congress's back and attacks another country? And you know that the AUMF is unconstitutional and bad. Are you going to put it forward in legislation to get rid of it? Where are the consequences? Like, nothing, not a single thing. They just say, oh, it's bad. And okay, we're going to move on to the next thing.
And I just wait. They'll vote for Biden's military budget. And they'll give him more money. All these the Progressive Caucus and all the squad and all these sellouts. They'll give Biden his war budget.
Yeah, they will. I mean, to their credit, in December they didn't, right? Because and that was very clever of them, because all of their troll armies on Twitter, they were like, "What are you talking about? Of course, AOC didn't vote for the omnibus bill, and neither did any of the squad, because it had a $600 stimulus check in it, which is crumbs, right? It was $600, and that was hidden inside of a bigger the omnibus bill, which included the defense budget." And what they did is they actually voted against the version that had the defense budget in it. But at the final vote, without the defense budget, they still voted for the $600 crumbs. It's like that's the only difference, right? It's unbelievable. They still want to screw over someone, like, at the end of the day, whether it's maybe perhaps not with a defense budget on that occasion, but they'll definitely give you crumbs and then think it's acceptable, and hide that they voted for it too.
Man, if I was in Congress, I'd do some devious shit. They have an awful bill in there, and they always sneak in awful stuff. I'd sneak in stuff for, like, progressives. I'd be like, oh, this bailout Wall Street bill. All right, I'm going to just make anyone with ties to Epstein all automatically go to prison. Like, there you go. Just sneak some shit in there.
Exactly.
Just like all weapons, defense contractor CEOs and oil CEOs are now deemed terrorists. And just, oh, sorry. Well, I can drone strike Raytheon. There we go.
That's what I'm talking about.
I would do subversive shit like that, and they'd be like, "Oh, we can't sneak thin in there at the last minute." Oh, okay. Oh, that sounds good. All right. Then let's make those a little smaller. Let's make them 500 words or less, and everybody can read them online. Yeah, we need to do that. Okay, because if you don't, I'll just keep sliding shit like that in there.
It's really funny. Again, like I said about the AUMF, if you go read it, it's 1.5 pages. Like, that's it. And you just think of the millions of people that have suffered because of it. It's really funny, like, when they want to give themselves a blank check, it's just one page, right? But when it comes to actually improving the lives of people, like, oh, we got to make it complicated and put it in with other bills and fill it with a bunch of shit and we got to it's got to be means tested, and it's incredible. And by the way, just sorry, Graham, one thing before I forget, I think Tulsi Gabbard, she's the only one so far that I know who actually criticized all of the policy against Syria. Like, she didn't just criticize the bombing; she also pointed out the sanctions and the theft of the oil. And that's really important that she did that, because I think she's the only one who did. And so, because far more people are dying from sanctions, and that's, like, completely glossed over. And Trump put that in, and Biden is just rolling with it. Like, it's not even a question that he removes it. So yeah, of course I'm keeping sanctions on Syria and Iran and Venezuela.
I mean, we're sanctioning countries in the middle of a pandemic, and I give Tulsi credit for that, for being the only one. But again, where is she now? Well, like she just where is it?
It's not enough. It's never enough, man.
Yeah, it's just talk, and maybe, but Pat, like, I need to see laws passed. I need to see you introduce floor votes. I need to see you be obstructive. Like, I need to see you do what Mike Gravel did when he read the Pentagon Papers on the Senate floor in the 70s to make sure they became a matter of permanent record. Shit like that. Mike Gravel wasn't worried about his Twitter feed. So I just want to see real, and it's just not. And I don't know, but I think the American people, because at some point the economy is going to collapse. They can keep printing money and keep kicking the can down the road, but the economy is going to collapse. Yeah. And
it's overdue at this point.
It's way overdue. And
because that's capitalism,
Yeah. Well, that's capitalism. And then all these bubbles were in place before COVID. And then you've had all these industries completely wiped out. And okay, we're going to open the vaccine and we're going to open up. Okay, great. But there's whole industries that are wiped out. I mean, I know a half a dozen nightclubs, comedy clubs, and restaurants that are gone. They're gone. They're not coming back. And, you know, you can print all the money you want and open stuff up. And that's just the ones I know, not to mention whole industries have been wiped out. So it's like,
yeah, and whatever money they do have, instead of subsidizing those businesses or you know, keeping them afloat, keeping people afloat for the time being, they just use it on bombs. They just use it on, you know, foreign aid to Israel. They just it's you know, it's like they can actually make a decision to help people. They choose not to.
Yeah, and you know, I've been doing a lot of research on the forbearance bubble, basically. So all these people who own property for the last year they called their mortgage companies and said, you know, I lost my job due to COVID or whatever. And so they're not making payments. And the bank is like, sure, fine. We'll put the payments, you know, we'll restructure the loan or put them in the back of the book, so to speak. But the interest hasn't stopped. The escrow hasn't stopped. Property values have gone up because there's a low inventory in this country, which means, so when they finally do say, okay, now you got to start making payments, the monthly payment is still going to be bigger. You're not, you know, and some of the mortgage companies are going to say, yeah, you owe us all this back. We're not going to just restructure the loan. We need some money up front. And people are going to go, okay. And there's going to be a mass foreclosure and short sale and people just putting their houses up. Like, we can't afford this. And then the housing market's going to collapse. And you've got all this, you know, all this over leveraged debt that's happening. And then what? I mean,
yeah, we already know who's going to make it out alive. It's the bankers, right? They're going to be unscathed by whatever happens. They don't give a shit. You know, Obama basically just told them, yeah, you can do this again.
and the other thing too is like,
bastards.
They got all that money. All these billionaires have made record profits during this pandemic. I mean, it's what
does that tell you?
What does that tell you? And so I don't know if the American people are going to get so forced that they've had enough. I mean, I keep saying America is like a drug addict and the American citizens are like, you know, people in a relationship with a drug addict or adult children of alcoholics who have alcoholic parents, and they're in denial. And then like when someone speaks up and says, hey, this is awful, the person that speaks up gets yelled at, stop causing problems. You know not to make dad angry when he drinks or whatever, you know, and it's like, no, the alcohol is the fucking problem. So I don't know, man. I mean, I know the UK is not some picnic, but I'm envious of anybody that doesn't live in America.
I mean, you know, the thing is that the UK, I mean, the way that they've handled the crisis is horrendous. I mean, like for the first, you know, at the beginning they're doing herd immunity, and then after a few weeks they're like, okay, this is not working. We're going to do a lockdown, but schools are exempt from the lockdowns, you know, like, and public commuting is okay. And, you know, and then just a few months ago, like when I was there during the Assange thing, like there's no mask mandate, which is incredible, you know, and they were saying pubs can open, but only until 10 p.m. And it's like, make up your fucking minds. They didn't even know what they were doing. And, you know, they've also botched it immensely. And I think one thing which was really suspicious, because I mean, I'm still quite shocked that this is real. Like the chief scientific advisor to the government, he has 600,000 pounds worth of stocks in a company that makes vaccines. And it just, you look at that and it's like, why are you doing this? Like, you're scientists. You're supposed to stick to science. I don't want to see you investing in shit and doing what, you know, the motherfuckers in big pharma do and in the military industrial complex. And like, I can't take you seriously, you know. And I'm not saying again, I'm not a doctor or biologist, but it's just corruption. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, it's the same corruption that you see in other places, and it's part incompetence, I think, and also criminal negligence and corruption, and you know, they just care about they don't really care about the small man. You know, they don't care about small businesses. They don't care about the average worker. At the end of the day, if the billionaires keep increasing their wealth, and whatever conditions are in place guarantee that, then that's fine, right? That's all that matters. And one scandal that I've seen barely anyone talk about this You had Jared Kushner, like Trump's son-in-law. You remember when nurses were coming into hospitals, like wearing trash bags and shit, like in New York, like they had no PPE, they had nothing. And Jared Kushner was flying in PPE from China and then selling it off to the highest bidder. Like you had states that were in a bidding war with each other about who would get that medical equipment. And then if a foreign entity or person outbid those states, they would get it. So like it wasn't even necessarily going to states or doctors or nurses in the US. Like it was just who has the most money. Like just a bidding war, an international bidding war for PPE at a time when there wasn't enough in the US. And, you know, Trump was not doing anything about it. So they made money off of this shit. And I can't believe that this went so underreported. It's like, holy fuck, this is like one of the biggest scandals. And no one talked about it. Like, you know, you would think that even AOC or whoever, you know, these people claim to be so anti-Trump and anti-corruption and all of this, and they're going to stand up to the establishment. Where is it? I don't know, man. It's mind-boggling.
Well, it's because you know, it's if they're participating in the same type of corruption, then they're going to kind of like, well, was it that bad of a, you know, like they're just gonna, it's like. Yeah, I mean, they know that Nancy Pelosi is just as corrupt. I mean, you saw what she was doing. She was giving like money to, PPP, so small business money to lobbyists. You know, people make $1 million fucking bucks a year. The vermin who corrupt Washington D.C. Like, why are they getting small business money? That was in the HEROES Act. And then also Israel, like some nonprofit called Friends of the Israeli Defense Forces got 2.5 million from that under small business money. What the fuck? Like, first of all, you're a nonprofit, and I mean, what does the IDF got to do with small businesses in America? Like, the corruption is just fucking mind-boggling. Not to mention the fact that they gave trillions in general to corporations, which would have been bad in of itself, right? Never mind the lobbyists and all of this stuff. So, you know, they'll talk about it, but they're not actually going to stand up and do anything. And you're seeing the same thing right now with the $15 minimum wage. Like you saw a joint letter from Ro Khanna, and all the squad signed it. 22 other House Democrats signed it, telling Joe Biden to override the Senate parliamentarian and put the $15 minimum wage in the relief bill, because the Senate parliamentarian, I mean, their opinion is not legal. They can override it easily. They just don't want to. And it's like, okay, great, you wrote a letter, but Joe Biden has come out and said the White House Chief of Staff, Klain, said they're not going to override the parliamentarian, meaning they're not going to put the $15 minimum wage in the bill. You campaigned on that shit. And do you think AOC and all these people and Ro Khanna, they're actually going to do anything beyond writing a letter? I really doubt it. No, they'll write a letter at best. I mean, literally. And if it'll be a sternly written letter, but they're not going to get it done. You know what I mean? Like they're just so useless. They'll give some interviews and talk tough and put out some tweets, but they're not going to pass a damn thing. They're not going to get it. They're not even going to introduce a bill.
They're working harder to get fucking Neera Tanden appointed as OMB. Like they can all of a sudden, like Joe Biden and the White House, they know how to fight and change senators' minds to get her confirmed, but not to get the $15 minimum wage through. Right. Yeah,
she's a horrible person. The Center for American Progress. She's an awful human being, and has an anonymous on top of it. And she's a warmonger. She's just a flagrant liar. You know, and that
I'm speechless. There's not enough words to describe her.
So horrible, and it's just like, but yay, diversity. You know, woman of color, and we're gonna. It's like,
you know, that's what counts, man. That's what counts. You have a woman who's director of national intelligence, a woman potentially who's going to head the OMB. Shalanda is deputy director of the OMB. You know, you have a female vice president, female treasury secretary, but, you know, actually lifting millions of women out of poverty with a higher minimum wage. Again, 15 is not even enough, but, you know, helping them somewhat, even crumbs, the bare minimum, giving them healthcare. No, fuck that. Just, you know, tokenism. That's all they care about. Just like, you know, putting on a show.
That's it. I mean, it's like, yeah, that the $15 an hour could raise so many women, just women, American women out of poverty, women of color, all this stuff. And you know what, especially if you're living in a state that's like $7 an hour minimum wage, what $15 an hour could do. I mean, you've got people working 2-3 jobs, women, moms, single mom, whatever. than donating plasma. They've got full-time work and it's not enough. $15
It's
an hour
criminal.
is criminal. It's criminal. It would help so many people. And it's the same thing. Like, oh, the new Secretary of Defense, the first ever black man. Can we discuss the fact that he's still on the board of directors at Raytheon? I don't know. Is there
No. Graham. Look, man, I'm telling you, as a Syrian, I have a warm, fuzzy feeling inside of me that I saw my country being bombed by a black man this time. It makes it okay. Don't worry about it.
Was everybody celebrating back in Syria that they finally got bombed by a black man? Were they just
you know it, man. You know it.
The woman, vice president, female vice president. This is great. Yay. Yeah. It's insane, man. It's really insane. Thanks for watching, everybody. Please hit the like button, the subscribe button. Go to patreon.com/Graham Elwood and rockfin.com/Graham Elwood, where you can support the show. Also, I have a Bitcoin wallet, a Bitcoin Cash wallet, and an Ethereum wallet in the show notes. We're taking cryptocurrency. I have a Coinbase affiliation link. We're going to be getting on some other exchanges. So that's how you support the show. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. YouTube is unsubscribing us at an alarming rate. I have a PayPal button at grahamelwood.com. I even have a Venmo at Graham-Elwood. There's a lot of ways to support our show. We are getting crushed by YouTube. We've dipped under 73,000 subscribers because of YouTube. Thanks for supporting what we do.